The morning the letter arrived, Ijoma almost dropped the cup in her hand. The envelope was addressed in her husband's handwriting. Clean, careful strokes she could never mistake. But that was impossible. Emeka had been dead for 3 weeks. She stared at it for a long, long time, her heart thudding against her ribs like a trapped bird. Finally, with trembling fingers, she tore it open. Inside was a single page, dated 2 days after his burial. It read, "My beloved Ijeoma, if this letter reaches you, please listen carefully. Do not attend the family meeting next week at my father's compound. No matter who invites you, no matter what reason they give, do not go. I beg you. I love you. Stay alive." Ijoma sank into a chair, breathing hard. The paper smelled faintly of his cologne, the one he always wore on Sundays. At first, she thought it was some cruel prank. Maybe one of his relatives wanted to scare her. Emeka's brothers had never liked her. They said she was too opinionated, too educated for a village wife, but the letter had a Lagos postmark, with Emeka's name written neatly on the back. It just didn't make any sense. She immediately called her sister, Ada, and read the letter aloud. Ada went silent for a moment on the other end of the line, then said, "Ijoma, please don't go for that meeting. Sometimes the dead see what we don't." But Ijoma wasn't one to give in to fear. "Ada, abeg," she sighed, trying to sound braver than she felt. "This is nonsense. Somebody is just trying to make me look foolish." By Thursday, the messages started. Emeka's eldest brother Ike called her. "Ijeoma, you must come for the meeting." His voice was firm, almost demanding. "We need to discuss the inheritance and your husband's shop." She hesitated, the words from the letter echoing in her mind. But the pressure was immense. Finally, she relented. "I'll come on Saturday." That night, she dreamt of Emeka for the first time since his death. He stood by the bedroom door, his face half in shadow, his expression somber. "Ijoma, I warned you," he said softly, his voice filled with a sorrow that chilled her to the bone. "Don't go." She woke up with a gasp, her bedsheet soaked in sweat. Her wedding ring, which had never left her finger, had somehow slipped off and was lying on the nightstand. She tried to brush it all aside. Grief can make the mind play tricks, she told herself, but a seed of doubt had been firmly planted. Saturday came with heavy, relentless rain, as if the sky itself was weeping. Ijoma dressed quietly, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach, and boarded a bus to the village. As she arrived, the sky darkened strangely, even though it was only midday. The atmosphere at the family compound was just as gloomy. The air felt thick, tense. Ike greeted her stiffly, his wife pointedly avoiding her eyes. Ijoma noticed the whispers exchanged between the cousins, the quick, nervous glances in her direction. Something was deeply wrong. "Where's Papa?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "He's inside," Ike replied curtly. "We'll start soon." They all gathered in the main sitting room. The family lawyer was there, clutching a folder, his face beaded with sweat. Ijoma chose a seat near the window, her purse clutched tightly in her lap. Before the lawyer could even begin, an old man, Emeka's uncle, Chief Ethanade, spoke up. His voice was gravelly and carried an air of authority. "Before we begin," he announced, "there's a small matter to settle. The will names Ijoma as the primary beneficiary of the house and shop. But we all know custom forbids a widow from owning such property. We have to correct that." Ijoma frowned, her blood running cold. "Correct what? That's what my husband wanted." The room erupted. Ike slammed his hand on the table, his face contorted with rage. "You bewitched my brother, Ijoma. He was not himself when he wrote that will." "Be careful, Ike," she warned, her voice trembling but firm. "You're talking about your own blood." The argument escalated, voices rising until the lawyer tried feebly to restore order. Suddenly, a deafening crack echoed from outside, like thunder splitting the air right above them. The lights in the house flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. In the brief, stunned silence that followed, a piercing scream cut through the sound of the rain. Everyone scrambled outside into the downpour. The old palm tree at the corner of the yard, the one Emeka had planted with his own hands years ago, had been split clean in half by a lightning strike. And lying beside it, motionless on the wet ground, was Ike. He had been standing too close, and in the chaos, his head had struck a large stone as he fell. The lawyer's voice shook. "We need to call for help." But the old chief whispered, his eyes wide with terror. "This is a warning. The spirit is angry. Ijoma stood there, numb, as the rain soaked her to the skin. The others scattered, running for shelter, but she couldn't move. Her gaze was fixed on the split palm tree, and then she saw it. The crack in the trunk revealed something wrapped in cloth, something that had been hidden deep inside. It was a small, sealed tin box. The next day, the police came. They carefully opened the box in her presence. Inside were a few old photos, a ring, and another letter, this one sealed in plastic to protect it from the elements. It was from Emeka, dated a week before his death. It read, "If anything happens to me, this box will prove it wasn't an accident. My brother wants my property. He has threatened me twice. Please keep this safe for Ijoma." The officers exchanged a look. One of them turned to her and said quietly, "Madam, your husband was murdered. He must have hidden this before he died." Ijoma's knees almost gave way. It all clicked into place. The letter from the dead, the warning, the dream, the lightning. The police later confirmed what the letter hinted at. Ike had poisoned his own brother to take over his shop and house. The family meeting was a trap, a way to intimidate Ijoma into signing over her inheritance. But a force greater than his greed, a love that transcended even death, had intervened. Weeks later, Ijoma visited Emeka's grave. The air was still, the sun bright and warm. She placed the 2 letters on the earth above him and whispered, "You kept your promise, my love. You still protected me." As she turned to leave, a small wind brushed against her cheek, warm, gentle, like a final, loving goodbye. From that day on, she never doubted that some messages, no matter how impossible they seem, are sent for a reason. And whenever she saw a letter in her mailbox, she would always pause just for a moment before opening it to make sure it came from the living. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales. We'll see you in the next one.